you guys have seen what's happening in Pinal County, what's happening in the greater Phoenix area, what's happening in Maricopa County, right? Let's see what we can do with that, right? What kind of a play we will have investing in these particular potential opportunities. So with that, we're going to move the presentation a little bit to say, okay, this is what is happening. How can I be a part of it? So with that in mind, I'm going to bring Jobai up. He's going to talk about what's happening in Toronto Bay.
Thank you, Tony Bhai. Wow. Do you all like what you hear so far?
Yes.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Venkat. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you, Thomas. What an informative speakers. Appreciate it. One big round of applause, please. Now, the halftime is over. Now the other halftime is beginning. So, as I told you earlier, I started in 2004 in land. And it's been an amazing, amazing, amazing journey. And I really believe this motto, I just came up with this, one of my office manager in India came up with this for me. He knows, he's working with me for the last couple of years. And I always say, I'm not going to sell you land. I'm not going to try to sell you land. And people laugh at me. He said, hey, Joe, you are an agent. Okay, but I'm truly saying that only thing I can do is educate you with land. Someday you will understand. Someday you will come to me to buy the land. And I have few good clients, as you know, they buy the land for me. So this is my motto. I believe in investor education first. Next. This is what Tonopah is. You know, starts on 331st Avenue, just touching Buckeye. So we are not far from Buckeye. We are only about, if no traffic, 45 minutes from downtown, from airport. I don't know how many years, but it will. Highway I-11, this is one of the largest highway which is in planning. It has already been approved. It's going through Tonopah. And I-10, as I said, is on I-10. There's lots of properties which we have picked up, and there's some available with their commercial potential. Right now you can pick it up between $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. Same properties are in Buckeye for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, which is only 10 miles away. And I have a big client here, Raj Patel. I don't know whether I should say this or not, I'm sorry. He just picked up a couple of 20-acre parcels because he had an experience in Buckeye. He invested some land in Buckeye, which he sold it 10 times. So he found similar type of land at only $45,000 an acre, but totally 100% commercial potential. Next. This is what I love. This is what I love to do. When I started this business, it was just long-term investment, nothing else. But now, you can buy and hold long-term. And when people say, when the market goes up and everything, should I sell it? I said, if you need money, of course you should sell it. If not, leave a gold mine for your retirement, leave a gold mine for your kids. Check the pricing of land anywhere in the world, 10, 20, 30 years. Earlier we talked about, you know, Pinal County and what was in Chandler and Gilbert and so and so. The other things I've started doing in the last 4 or 5 years is buy and subdivide. Whether you buy and subdivide 20-acre parcel or a 5-acre parcel, the best part for me was land banking with Dr. Shah and Tony. Right? And that has been really good because what it does is somebody don't want to invest $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 on a commercial potential property. You cannot buy a commercial potential property for a couple of $100,000. But for $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, you can. Now, but not everybody wants to invest $2, $3, $4 million. But you can invest $50,000, $60,000. So it has been very good. 5-acre, talk about solar potential land. This is, you're going to hear a lot about it in a few minutes. I think it's going to be a wonderful investment. Next. Wow. Exclusive educational tool for land investors. So this is, I love to give Tonopah tour. I'm serious. Call me anytime. I can do 2 tours a day. Come there anytime, 3 tours a day. But this is my baby. Tonapa. Thank you, appreciate, thank you very much. Please leave your name.
Yeah, quick check, guys. So please make sure, like Joe Bhai said, leave your name, number, and your email address to be informed. Next up, I don't know what to say about this person. Simaji, who's this hunk of a guy? I did not see this picture so far. I just saw it last night when he sent it across. But next up is, personal friend of mine, my 2 a.m. call. A man with infectious energy, right? So you give him a topic and in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, 10 days, he'll be an expert in that topic. There have been so many times that, we go to our securities attorney, we go with our land attorneys, we go with our water attorneys. And after the first meeting with Hitul Bhai, they'll say, hey dude, next time you bring Hitul Bhai up, make sure I have his question up front. Because he will ask all these questions that I may not have answers and I don't like getting in front of him, not knowing his topics. So man of infectious energy, he'll spend time doing research and I get up at 6 a.m. in the morning and I'll see these, WhatsApp messages saying, let's look at this, let's look at this, let's look at this. He's a guy who's figured out ChatGPT. Ultimately, he may break down ChatGPT. That's his new love. But without any further ado, Hitul, back to you.
Very kind introduction, Tony. You know what I would be really good at is I've done about 5,000 C-sections, so I can walk everybody how to do a C-section blindfolded. So Tony, let's talk a little bit about land banking. About 10, 12 years ago, I talked to Kuldeep ji, and I said, hey, can you teach me how to invest in land? I had already invested with Joe Bhai, but I stopped because I didn't really understand it. So he said, come to my office every week. So Thursday, 2 to 7, about 5 hours. Every single Thursday, I had to keep my pager off. And for almost a year, we would sit there and just talk about how to invest in land. And he had 2 full-time employees in India. We would look at every single land available in the West Valley. And he would help me break it down by area-wise. And that's how we got started. And we were very successful. And after he had accumulated 40,000 acres, he's like, Ethel, you're on your own. Okay, I'm done. I can't be buying 100-acre parcels anymore. Okay, that's not for me. So then I kind of went out on my own. Why invest in land bank? Well, I've been very successful at it. So we started this syndication model, and I thought I would discuss it with everybody else. Very, very passive investment. I think Kuldeep ji has just one person working for him, and he manages tens of thousands of acres. It's a long-term horizon. If you think you're going to flip it next year, or 3 year, or 5 year, don't invest land. I always tell, if you're not sure, don't invest. Otherwise, leave the land for your grandkids. It's a very low carrying cost, especially in Arizona. The taxes are fairly low on land, so that makes it convenient, especially Maricopa County. It is very speculative in nature. Because it's speculative, we want to think long term. Next. Why invest in Arizona? I'm from Arizona. I've been here since the 1970s, did elementary, high school, college, medical school, residency here. Forget about Price Road. When Bell Road was dirt when I went, my brothers went to Greenway High School and Bell used to be dirt road. West of I-17, Safeway. That was it. No banks, no Taco Bell, no McDonald's, nothing. So the land that we built our house on was going for about $500 an acre in the 80s. And we paid $500,000 an acre to build our house at Arrowhead Lakes. So exponential land growth. Cons, very illiquid. When you need to sell the land, that's when Kuldeep, I come in and buy it really cheap. So don't, if you can't afford to sit on the land, don't invest in land. Market timing, right now it's swinging up, but you heard from these great minds, I think Phoenix is going to keep growing, especially Pinal County. zoning or environmental constraints, it's always difficult to evaluate. Kind of keep this in mind as we talk about it. Two examples I'll quickly give. In Mesa, I think Meta paid like $1 million an acre, more than that, to build their data center. And we're talking about buying land for $5,000, $50,000 an acre. So you gotta think long term. And second, think of this. Right now, Buckeye is about 120,000 population in 2025. Tonopah is 5,000, roughly. They have a high school there. That's what Buckeye was in about year 2000. So in 25 years, Tonopah will be where Buckeye is. Casa Grande is about 70,000, right? So once again, Buckeye is 120. So that means Buckeye was 70,000 in 2017-18, right? 2010, Buckeye was about 20,000. Eloy is about 20,000 right now, right? So think about the growth Buckeye has, and I think the growth in Casa Grande will be just as fast as Eloy. So keep those in mind relative to Buckeye and why we're investing more in Pinal County. Next. Projects in Maricopa, we're not even going to talk about it. Tony, there's so much stuff that's already people said. So let's skip that slide. Yeah, TSMC, I think TNC has fundamentally changed way Arizona is perceived in America, and I think worldwide. Tucson and Phoenix has always been considered that eventually it's going to be a metropolis. It's considered a sun corridor, and now they're saying it's a desert silicon, especially with TSMC. Now with Tucson and Phoenix both having world-class universities, it's really supporting the chip advanced manufacturing. Just to give you an example, I graduated from medical school at U of A in 1993. At that time, 90 students graduated from Arizona. I think this year 1,500 medical students are graduating from Arizona, 1,500. That's because we have world-class universities here. Now Mayo has their own program also. So that just tells you how much growth. And I think Michael Kors at ASU had a huge play with that. Next slide. Why land bank in Arizona? First of all, the explosive population growth that we talked about. Land is still very undervalued here in Arizona. I'll give you one example. In 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, the land value was just exploding. People from all over the world were buying it. Vietnam, Australia, Germany. In Tonopah, Buckeye was all Europeans. So some of the land we're buying is from European people. Big families acquiring thousands of acres of land. So you heard of FOMO, fear of missing out. So it was just a land grab. People were just really scared. So they just, all over the world, so people were buying land in Arizona. We don't have that right now. Last month we bought 200 acres of land for like $1,700 south of I-8 in Casa Grande, 2,000 an acre. The land adjacent to it in 2006, some idiot bought it for $25,000 an acre. So 20 years later, we're buying it for $1,700. That idiot will never invest in land again. And there are thousands of people like that who invested in land in 2004, 5, 6 and will never invest again because they just didn't understand all the different stuff that we're going to talk about today. One exception, of course, is Kuldeep. He's an exception to that. So we're just trying to strategically plan for the future with all the growth that are occurring. We want to plan for residential and commercial. Tony, let's go on to the next one. How do we go about selecting the land? Somebody already said location. So I agree. Location is the first thing we look at. We look at the corridors, I-10, I-8, I-11. Along I-10, which is the only freeway that connects Pacific Coast to Atlantic, we have actually about 7 properties right on I-10. And we had a great return on the land we sold 2 years ago that was on I-10. We're looking at the corridors that still has potential. Somebody say Mesa, General. Mesa, Chandler, they're out. They're out. Even Buckeye, it's difficult to invest in Buckeye with their water issue and their land. It's tremendously priced. Up north is too, it's overpriced. Levine is difficult. So that leaves Pinal County and West. And we also, Sun Valley Parkway, right, Tony? So we're looking at location. The next thing we look at the zoning. Most of the land you're going to be looking at rural area because once they're commercial, the price grows up tremendously. Then we're looking at the water access. We're actually also looking at the physical and environmental due diligence also. Next. Common sense, we're also looking at the legality. Last thing we look at is what is the exit strategy? There's many exit strategy. When we first started investing with Kuldeepji, we were looking for really potential land that would go into solar, potential future land, and then master plan community. But he's thinking at a much, much grander scale. Now we're thinking at a much smaller scale. So that's the exit strategy. The last, even though we put financial consideration last, price per acre, given all of that together, this is actually the number one because the land could feed all the criteria, and if it's $100,000 an acre, and I'm only willing to pay $60,000 an acre, then it doesn't fit. So first we find all the criteria, then we negotiate. I think there's a property on I-10 that we're negotiating with a European family, Tony, for what, 9-10 months now, and it's still ongoing. When I used to invest with Kuldeepji, it would take us years to buy some parcels of land because some family just didn't want to give it up. Next slide. So steps in land banking, what are the steps that Kuldeepji has kind of taught me over the years, and I still seek his advice on that $1,700 land. I didn't want to buy it, and I called him up. He goes, Ethel, I can't give you an advice. But he goes, why the hell would you pass up on a property at 1,700 acre, for God's sakes, okay? So he's like, yeah, just buy the land. So I think some of you bought that with us. First is site identification. We have 2 people in India who works full-time. They've created a map, all the different data that everybody's mentioned, we put it in one map. All the land that's on sale, which is tens of thousands of different listings, goes on one site. I meet with them once a week, and they just give me the updates on the new listings, and I decide which one I like, which I don't, and we talk about the previous one, and then we'll identify 10, 15 land pieces. Once we start identifying, we'll start the due diligence process. The other stuff that we also, I didn't say on site identification, majority of the land we buy is not on any type of listing. It's not on LoopNet, it's not on Crexi, it's not in the LMS. A lot of it is cold call, a lot of it is connections we made over the years. So it's not something you're able to find online, usually not. Then we do our due diligence, phase 1, Alta survey. Now Ryan, on the Eloy property we bought, we did the phase 1 study. Then we did phase 2 study, and he's like, Ethel, you need a geoengineer or something, right? Geotechnical engineer. I'm like, geotechnical engineer? How much is that gonna cost me? And he's like, I don't know, 60,000? Like 60,000? So he's like, we're gonna have to drink 60 holes, we're gonna do sound wave studies to see what's underneath the land. I'm like, okay, fine, do it. And I go, if it's no good, he's like, don't buy the land. So, we spent $60,000 plus all the other studies. He said, no, it's good, you can buy it. Now we had some land in Casa Grande, which had fishers, and we didn't buy it, so we lose that money, right? So this one, he said, go for it. So, we recoup the money from the investors. So that land we bought at $12,000. I think we're gonna be able to put it up, Tony, maybe 100,000 an acre, we're going to be able to list it for potential data center, but electric is going to possibly be an issue there. So once we do our due diligence, then we'll do the land acquisition. Most people already know that. We'll do the operating agreement, BPM, subscription. With the banking, we'll all finalize all the paperwork, do the banking account. Land maintenance, once again, there's not a whole lot to do. So there's no fees or anything like that. Minimal work once the land is acquired. Of course, there's annual taxes. Tony and I, like Guju, cheapskate, I used to do all the accounting for like 50 LLCs. And Tony would help me, and all the real accountants who would invest with me, he's like, Ethel, you gotta stop. So as of today, I'm no longer doing accounting. We have an accountant who's gonna do all the LLCs. So you're gonna get correct K1s, not the ones me and Tony were doing. Then we do the entitlement zoning changes if it needs to be done. We're working with Ryan on the stuff that we need to do. Some of the stuff we market directly. One of the lands we sold, we marketed directly, so there is no commission for any, we don't take commission. But if realtors are involved, we pay the realtor their commission. Then we distribute the money and close the corporation. Next. Water challenges in Arizona. Wow, we have some of the most complex laws in the world in Arizona. It started all because of the 1980 Grand Water Act. And it just expanded and expanded, and ADWR has just huge power to just come up with rules and regulation that legislature doesn't even necessarily have to approve. They can just do it on their own. So that makes it extremely challenging. There's type 2 water rights, and there are millions of acres of type 1 water rights, which not actively used. You have type 2 water rights. For example, if Somil has type 2 water right in Chandler, he can sell that to somebody in Buckeye, and it's a certificate. They can just drill a well in Buckeye and start drinking water, but his certificate, initially, he might got it in Chandler. Then you have grandfather rights, irrigation, water rights. When you're doing master plan community, you need a CAWS, certificate of assured water rights. Now somebody asked, very simple, can I just dig a well? Nice thing in Arizona, in that sense, yeah, you can dig a well. My brother does houses. He does 4 houses for like a 5-acre lot. You can just build 1 well, get a permit, really easy. Put in an exempt well, which is less than 35 gallons per minute. Not really concerning. You don't need to prove any water right. Water is easily available in Arizona. It used to be in the 1980s, you can do 200 feet. Then it was 300 feet, and I think my brother's telling me it's between 375 to 600 feet now before they hit water. But in that sense, yeah, if you buy land in Tonopah, 5 acre, you can just dig and start using it. What you cannot do is do 5 acres of land and irrigate it. That you cannot do. But water rights are complex. If somebody has really specific issue, let me know. Somebody mentioned Act to Urban. There's 2 bills being passed. It's already passed in the House, SB 282, and I think SB 1611. What that will do is that'll give farmers the ability to stop farming and sell their water rights to other developers. Now, I'll give you an example. With my brother, he can put 1 well, and he can put 4 houses on there. And then 1 well will be 1 acre feet of water per year, which is about 280,000 gallons per year. So 1 acre feet of water can give enough water to about 4 houses. Let's pretend they use 2 acre feet. So that'd be about half an acre per acre, which is about 50,000 gallons per year. Of a typical farm like alfalfa, they use 6 acre feet per year. So when they start farming, you're saving 6 acre feet per year. And if you turn it to industrial, they only use about 0.5 acre. So these farmers, as they leave, there'll be lots of water available in Buckeye. Unfortunately, ADWR doesn't count that as water as part of their 100-year. When you stop using the water, they don't count that. But I also agree with Ryan. There's plenty of water out there. But I do know a lot about water. Me and John, we went to AWR a couple of weeks ago. We spent 2 hours with a bunch of questions I had. 3 people came in there and sat in the conference rooms, and extremely helpful. Next. Agriculture makes up 72% of the water in Arizona. Water is free for agriculture. So what do the farmers do? They just flood their fields. A lot of them don't even use a spray. The most sufficient is underground. They don't even use that. They just flood it because it's free. So 72%. Industry only uses 3%. Now Arizona only has 18% land that's private. So where does the state of Arizona get their property tax from? It can't be from property because it's only 18%. So more land they convert from industry to industrial, that's more property taxes they can have. Like I think Texas is like almost 93% of private. Arizona is very little. So that in that sense, that is good. Most of it is by federal, state, and Native American. So when you drive around and you see a lot of land available, that's probably because it's really not available. Next. So we briefly talked about Ag to Urban bill. Since the 70s, when I did my 8th grade report on water and oil, and my report said in 20 years, Arizona is going to run out of water and the world was going to run out of oil. It hasn't happened. Every governor that comes makes a big deal about water. You know, Saudi Arabia is coming in and using our water. That's just the way it is, you know. And after a while, you don't hear anymore. So after a couple of months, you're not going to hear much about water anymore. City officials usually don't talk about water. It's always the state official and federal who's always worried about Arizona water. Next, Tony. Just a regional map. You can see a lot of green in Buckeye. Tony and I went through every single one of those parcels in Buckeye and see what land we can buy. And majority, about 90% of the land was already bought by end user. Very few land available that was farming. So you see a lot of farm, but in the next 4 or 5 years, all those farms will be gone. So we bought a couple of property in Buckeye. We have quite a few property in Tonopah. We bought some on Sun Valley Parkway where Cartoso is. And then we're going to Eloy and Casa Grande. Rest of the area we don't buy because we just don't see a potential there. So it is a problem. Land banking is for people who really think long term. So like John F. Long pretty much bought the whole West Valley, right? Railroad companies came in and bought tons of land. Just in the 1990s, Santa Fe Railroad bought 150,000 acres of land. Warren Buffett's foundation has 10,000 acres of land. As you guys know, Bill Gates, close to 20,000 acres of land. And there are a lot of silent players that we don't even know. So we're like minuscule in terms of how much land that we buy as a group. Next. So along Sun Valley Parkway, we have where it says number 1 and 2, we acquired that land a couple of years ago. Cartoso is being built. Terra Velas, which is Howard Hughes' project. Jerry Colangelo and his family owned about 40,000 acres of land for decades, and they sold it to Howard Hughes. He was a big time into land banking, and his company has continued that. They're a master plant. Terra Velas, I think, is only approved for 3,000 houses, but they want to do 100,000. They're having issue, what Ryan mentioned, water rights. They don't have enough 100-year water rights. So they're working on that. We have one property in Buckeye which we just bought about a month ago. Next, Tony. So this is in Tonopah. These are all property that's not owned by me, but it's in groups of people that are all here. So we have quite a bit of property in Tonopah, and a couple of them we've already sold. But as Buckeye land has been kind of all taken up, more and more people will move to the West Valley. We were envisioning West Valley as more of a logistic distribution center, but I think Buckeye has taken its place. With TSMC, they're estimating 90 million square foot of logistic distribution will be needed in the valley. So I think Tonopah is more what Jobai said. Some communities, but a lot of it be more like Paradise Valley. People will have a 1 acre, 5 acre lot in that area. Tony, next. In Casa Grande, we have about 5 properties in Casa Grande, and about 5 properties in Eloy area also. So we kind of accumulated land, kind of strategically what we thought was the next growth area. We looked at Florence, we looked at Santan Valley, we looked at Florence. We've looked there, but we haven't been finding great deals. Next, Tony. Investors insight, I think from what everybody has heard, I think for you guys, seriously think about land investment. If not for us, most of the investors, you can go individually. Joe is really great. If you have a particular property that you're interested in and you just want my opinion, we are not here to take anybody's land deal. We find our own. But if you're interested, I'm happy to sit down and talk with you. I think many of you have came to my house and I've sat down for an hour and showed you how we go about looking for land and what land price we think is a good value. Okay, I think I'm going to let you introduce you to Kuldeep. We're saving the best for last. Oh, Rob.
We met with him 2 weeks ago. Sent a special email to Seemaji and me saying that next time he comes to my office, we want the questions up front. Do not let him come to our office without we knowing the question that he's going to ask. And they themselves told us that it was a big information learning session even for the AWR engineers. So that's the research and that's the amount of information that he has just about land and all aspects of land. Anyway, let me keep rolling. Next up is we have Rob Klein. He represents Burma Land. I'll pass it on to Rob.
Oh, excuse me a second. I gotta have a seat. I had a recent surgery and my legs have gone numb sitting here. So I work with Ken Verma at Burma Land for the last couple of years. I was in escrow for a little over 30 years. So have done a lot of transactions with many of you in this room, and so it's good to be here. We'll go ahead and get started. Next slide. The big thing, the misconception I think about Arizona is people drive around and they see all this open land. The reality is only 17% of the land in Arizona is privately held. So with all of it being federal land, Indian reservation, state land, it's a real big misconception. 17% is only private, or almost 18% now. Next slide. Obviously, Ken Verma, Verma Land, he's been buying land for over 30 years and has encouraged hundreds of solar farm companies to come to the valley here and set up shop. Next slide. We're obviously very pro-growth, and we don't see that slowing down here in Arizona. Next slide. Obviously, lots of new highways being built. With these highways, it increases property values extremely quick. Next slide. This was an interesting one. Ken offered Tesla 1,000 acres for free because he knew the value of getting a business like that to come into the valley and all the other businesses that will come in behind it to support it. Next slide. All of that vision, Ken's won many awards and accolades and continues to do so to this day. Next slide. Obviously, we've talked a lot about TSMC, probably one of the biggest exponential growth factors going today. Next slide. We've talked about the $165 billion investment, tons of jobs. Next slide. The good thing too is all of the ancillary businesses, the supply chain that comes in along with them. We're obviously looking to market to them to sell them land so they can set up shop here. Next slide. Arizona used to be known for the 5 C's, the cotton, cattle, climate, copper, and citrus. What's interesting now is Governor Hobbs talked about basically Arizona does 5 times the exports of any of all the average for states in the United States. Over $32 billion in exports last year. Top 3 exports being semiconductors, hospital equipment, and aerospace equipment. So very business-friendly environment here. Next slide. We'll talk about solar development too and how this affects land. One of the things we think about is, or I think about is, solar land development's like putting a pot of water on the stove. It simmers for years. These companies come in, they buy land, they amass all of these large parcels and tracts of land. They have to get the zoning changed to industrial to have the solar panels on there. They also have to go to the power company to get a power purchase agreement, and we've touched on how much time that is taking nowadays. But what we see coming here is these companies have been doing this for the last 10 years. And so a lot of them have the power purchase agreements, they're ready to go, and we're starting to see the panels on the ground, and we're gonna see that go exponentially. So next slide. Copia Power is probably the biggest example of this. They essentially have 14,000 acres in the Harquahala Valley. There's an additional 6,000 acres that has the potential to be solar as well, that's contracted with other companies or essentially will be ended up part of Copia's portfolio. The appetite for this type of investment, Copia raised $3.5 billion in 6 months. 1.7 billion of that is going to go to the Maricopa County project. So construction is expected to start this year. In 2 years or less, you're going to see 14,000 acres with solar panels on it, with the potential for 6,000 more to have. That's going to eat up land very fast and drive demand. Next slide. So in summary, essentially only 17% of the land's private. These mega projects, solar projects are coming in. They're going to eat up land very, very, very quickly. We'll go to the next slide to kind of have a look at what we've got here. So obviously, Buckeye is right here. This is the Palo Verde nuclear plant. We've talked about Buckeye, how expensive it is. I mean, Cipriani was the 2,100 acre sale for $136 million. Prices in Buckeye are astronomical. You get into next to Palo Verde plant here, the parcels are all small, not exactly ideal being next to the power plant. All of the gold property here is federal land. You're looking at about 46,000 acres of federal land in the middle here. Nothing's really going to happen there unless there are some policy changes at the federal level. All of the pink land then, as we enter into Harquahala Valley in the west here, this is all the land that Copia is essentially has the potential to put solar panels on the ground. It's going to eat up land at a faster pace than we've ever seen any industry do. And that is going to drive prices up. And you're going to see potentially a land shortage and demand increasing exponentially. So that's kind of our my little quick version of the presentation. Thanks, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that amazing insight. So like you guys can see, land is becoming a precious commodity here in Arizona for us. And for your play, you know, in the land business to get invested in land from your diversification perspective, right? Please make sure that you guys fill out the forms. So the next investment opportunity that will come, we guys get hold of you and just present it to you from a if you are interested from that perspective. So having said that, Shobai, I think next is we're going to have a bit of a Q&A. Yeah. Now, from Kuldeepji's perspective, Kuldeepji is here. This is his vision, right? So from his perspective, he says visually land acquisition is based on location and timing, right? Rather than immediate utility. It is for us to acquire the land, but allow others to generate a demand when the market matures.